The Philadelphia Phillies did the exact opposite of what they needed to do last night in the series opener at Citi Field on the road against the New York Mets. The Mets have not been playing great baseball as of late. The Phillies have been the better team as of late. The Phillies really needed to kick the Mets while they were down, and they did not do that. And the Mets took advantage in a big, big way. The Mets took that series opening game with a 13-3 victory over the Phillies. The Phillies had an early 3-0 lead, and then the Mets scored 13 unanswered runs to win that ball game 13-3 and start that series off on a great foot for them. And the last thing that the Phillies want to do is let the Mets get hot again, wake the Mets up. As I said, they haven't been playing great baseball as of late. A win like that against a good team, against your division rival that you hate like the Phillies, could be all the Mets needed to get back on track and to get hot heading into October, just like they did last year. And when they went on that deep playoff run on their own right, beat the Phillies in the NLDS, and just unfortunate stuff. So hopefully the Phillies can get right back at it tonight, just quiet the noise, get the win, and lower the Mets' momentum. And hopefully it was just kind of a fluke game for the Mets and they stay cold and stay playing bad baseball. The Phillies did have a 7-game lead going into that series opener against the Mets, now down to 6 with that 13-3 loss Monday night at Citi Field. Now, I'm not going to dedicate a whole section to Jordan Romano. There's really nothing else to say other than the dude stinks. He is not a good pitcher, at least not this year in 2025 with the Phillies. He came in that ball game. It was still just a 6-3 game at the time. The Phillies were down 3, still in the ball game. Still a couple innings left to go. Jordan Romano came in for the 7th inning. He allowed bases loaded with no outs. First allowed a sacrifice fly in that situation. Mets got an additional run to make it a 7-3 lead. Still doable. Still in the game for the Phillies with 2 more at-bats to go around in the 8th and 9th innings. But then, in classic Jordan Romano fashion, now, it wasn't a grand slam that he allowed because that sacrifice fly, but he allowed a 3-run home run. The Mets broke it wide open, took a 10-3 lead there in the 7th inning, and that was really all they needed. They ended up scoring 3 more runs in those last couple of innings to win that 13-3, obviously over the Phillies Monday night. Jordan Romano's ERA in 2025 is now at 8.23. That's, excuse me, that is abysmal. That is horrible. You can understand that if you're not pitching a lot and you have a couple of bad outings here and there, a couple of bad appearances. But Jordan Romano has been used a lot this season in 2025, and an 8.23 ERA is just absolutely horrendous. We're at the point where he should honestly be DFA'd and off this team, but we're also at the point where there's just a few weeks left of the regular season of the 2025 season. And at this point, you paid him this 1-year, $8.5 million deal. You might as well just keep him around to finish off that contract, put him in, eat up innings in situations where the Phillies either have a huge lead or they're getting killed, like a game last night, and just let him eat up those innings so you don't have to waste other relievers and still at least get some money's worth out of Jordan Romano. Regardless, terrible stuff out of him. The Phillies are back at it tonight, Tuesday. Again, 7-10 start at Citi Field, trying to bounce back, salvage this series, even it up 1-1 heading into the series finale tomorrow on Wednesday. Jesus Luzardo's on the mound. Very inconsistent, really, in the second half of the season. Been pitching a little bit better as of late. Hopefully he can get back on track, or get the Phillies back on track, pick up this win, and go into tomorrow trying to win another series. Welcome to Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. It looks good for the Phillies early in that ballgame yesterday, in that series opener against the Mets. They took advantage of not really terrible mistakes by the Mets, but little mistakes here, especially when the Mets are playing or have been playing bad as of late. That's why they've been making little mistakes here and there. The Phillies took full advantage of it. They looked like they were going to have a very good game there. The Mets outfielder out in center field, I believe it was, he tried to make a diving catch out there on a Trey Turner line drive-ish out there into the outfield to lead off the ball game in the first inning. Bad dive attempt. He should have never done it. Got by him, and Trey Turner ended up getting a leadoff triple. He came around and scored on a Kyle Schwarber ground out to give the Phillies an early 1-0 lead there in the first inning. And then in the third inning, another little mistake. Not a horrible mistake, but one that really shouldn't be happening. Juan Soto the Mets superstar outfielder. They gave him a huge contract in the offseason. He made an over-aggressive throw to try to get Kyle Schwarber. He was trying to go to third base on a Bryce Harper single. He tried to just launch it, airmail it all the way to third base to nail Kyle Schwarber out at third. Shouldn't have done that. Should have hit the cutoff man because Kyle Schwarber was pretty safe easily at third base. And that also allowed Bryce Harper to get to second base. So second and third there in the third inning. And then Alec Boehm came up, hit a 2 RBI single with 2 outs in that inning. And then the Phillies took added 2 more runs to their 1-0 lead to take an early 3-0 lead there in the third inning. And as I said, it was looking really good because Christopher Sanchez was pitching really well. He was dominant through the first 3 innings, hadn't allowed a hit through the first 3 innings, just 1 base runner off of a fielder's choice, I believe it was. But no damage there for Christopher Sanchez through the first 3 innings, and he had been pitching very good really all season long. He's a National League Cy Young candidate. Honestly, he's probably the runner-up right now behind Pittsburgh Pirates starter Paul Skeens, especially with Zach Wheeler out for the season now for the Phillies. Christopher Sanchez having a heck of a year, but unfortunately for Christopher Sanchez, after those 3 innings, he kind of ran into some trouble, fell apart a little bit, didn't really have his best stuff after those 3 innings. As I said, he didn't allow a hit until the 4th inning, so hitless through 3, the Mets offense were. But then Juan Soto hit a leadoff single for their first hit of the ball game there in the 4th inning. But then Christopher Sanchez made a great pitch, recorded a double play, 2 outs there, no runners on, looked like he was going to get out of it and continue his dominance there through 4 innings. Unfortunately, Pete Alonso on the Mets hit a single, got on base, not going to kill you, guy on first, 2 outs. But then Christopher Sanchez, his cleats got a little stuck on the mound, ended up balking, so Pete Alonso got second base there because of that. And then maybe he got rattled there with that balk, a little bit of embarrassing stuff. You don't want that to happen, obviously. He then threw a wild pitch, was very unlike Christopher Sanchez. Pete Alonso advanced to third base on that with 2 outs. And then Christopher Sanchez allowed back-to-back RBI hits. The Phillies still had a 3-2 lead there after that. But then Sanchez, again, still didn't really have his best stuff in that 4th inning. He allowed a walk and then another RBI hit. The Mets tied it up 3-3 there in the 4th inning. As I said, just really wasn't sharp in that 4th inning. Dominant through the first 3, not sharp in the 4th inning. The Mets ended up tying it up 3-3. And Christopher Sanchez's final line on the day, he had a little bit of trouble there again in the 5th and 6th a little bit while he was still in there. But he went 5 1/3 innings, allowed 8 hits, 3 walks, which is way too many, 5 earned runs, and 4 strikeouts, plus the loss against the Mets. Just a bad day by Christopher Sanchez. Again, dominant through 3, and then all of a sudden just wasn't sharp and fell apart in the 4th. Every starter is going to have a game like that. You're not going to be perfect every time out there. Just unfortunate stuff for the Phillies, especially against your hated rival, the Mets. And again, last thing the Phillies wanted to do is to wake up this Mets offense, to wake up this Mets team that has been playing bad baseball as of late, especially in this final push of the season, while the Phillies are trying to hang on to first in the NL East and win a 2nd consecutive division title. Hopefully they get back on track tonight with Jesus Luzardo on the mound, and the offense can put up more runs than just 3. Again, the Phillies did make another costly mistake. Not that Christopher Sanchez, made a single mistake. He made a couple of mistakes, wasn't sharp there in the last couple of innings of his outing. But Bryce Harper in the 5th inning made a costly fielding mistake. Bryce Harper has been a very good defensive first baseman since taking over there after his injury where he moved from outfield to first base. Very good, really, and, all things considered. But costly mistake there in the 5th inning. The Phillies had Juan Soto picked off between first and second. Harper took way too long to throw the ball to second base to Bryson Stott to try to get Juan Soto, who was trying to advance to second base there on the pickoff attempt there by the Phillies. A little bit of a lob throw, a little bit of a bad throw. Bryson Stott was trying to catch it quick, tag it down to get Soto out at second. The ball was dropped. Soto was safe. He might have been safe anyway. As I said, Bryce Harper just took way too long to throw. You got to throw it a little sooner in that situation to give your second baseman or whoever is covering second base at the time a chance to get the runner out. If he turns around and tries to run back to first, then you have other guys like the pitcher. JT Almeida was going to cover first as well to throw that ball back to him, get him out. Regardless, should have been an out. Unfortunately, Bryce Harper, a little bit of a fielding mistake, ended up being an error on his part, I believe. And Juan Soto was safe at second. As I said, might have been safe regardless, even if Bryson Stott caught that ball and tried to tag him out. Again, costly mistake because Christopher Sanchez then allowed a walk and an RBI double later in that inning. The Mets took a 4-3 lead, broke that tie, and then the rest was history. They ended up going on to score a bunch more runs in that ball game and beat the Phillies 13-3. Unfortunate stuff for the Phillies. They got to put this game behind them, move on to today, and like it's a brand new day, and get back in the win column. You can't, as I said, let the Mets get hot here like they did last year late in the season, made that deep playoff run, beat the Phillies in the first round in the NLDS of the postseason. We don't want to see that happen again. Nobody likes the Mets. The teams don't like each other. The fans definitely don't like each other. If you're an Eagles fan, it kind of has that taste of Eagles-Cowboys rivalry, but in baseball terms, Phillies-Mets. The Phillies really need to bounce back today. Now, to end here on a high note, Ranger Suarez has been very good for the Phillies as of late. Overall, very good season in 2025. He's had a few bad starts, but overall, very good for Ranger Suarez. As I said, let's end this on a high note after a very depressing and frustrating game yesterday by the Phillies. Ranger Suarez, it was announced yesterday that he was named the National League Player of the Week. 13 2/3 innings in his last two starts. 7 hits allowed, no walks. Great stuff in those 13 2/3 innings. He did have a hit by pitch. Just 2 earned runs in those 2 starts. 21 strikeouts in those 13 2/3 innings, and he picked up 2 wins in those 2 starts to earn National League Player of the Week honors. He also threw a career-high 11 strikeouts in Sunday's win over the Washington Nationals, so great stuff there out of Ranger Suarez. Congrats to him. It's his first Career Player of the Week award. He was named the National League Pitcher of the Month back in April last year in 2024, but first Career Player of the Week for the National League here with the Phillies. Dominant in his last 2 starts. He needs to keep it up moving forward through the rest of this regular season into the playoffs, as do the Phillies starting pitching. Christopher Sanchez needs to bounce back. He's obviously an ace-worthy pitcher. Aaron Nola had a very solid start in his last outing Saturday against the Nationals. He needs to keep pitching well, keep building off of that. Jesus Luzardo, Taijuan Walker for the remainder of the regular season, because Zach Wheeler obviously is out for the rest of the regular season, out for the playoffs, and that is a huge loss to the Phillies, a huge loss to the starting rotation, to the team, and their championship odds. But the Phillies still have very good starting pitching, so they just need to keep continuing to pitch well, keep continuing to keep their team in the game, keep giving the offense opportunities to either build on leads or take leads. You know, you can't go out there and let up a whole bunch of runs because then it's harder for your team, your offense, to win. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, the Phillies get back on track tonight against the Mets, pick up a win, even up the series 1-1, go into tomorrow's series finale Wednesday, trying to win another series. Hope you guys enjoy this episode of Phillies Daily. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Tough one yesterday. Jesus Luzardo on the mound tonight for the Phillies, looking for a win. Hopefully, we're talking about a win tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, go Phils.